Good morning, guys. Good morning. Give me just a minute. I completely forgot that I was going. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. How are you, friend? How are you? I am adjusting this. Let's see. I think it still may tilt a little bit. I'm not sure how to go. I'm going to get started. Happy Friday. I hope you're having a great day so far. I have been feeling super heavy and I don't know how you're feeling. So I first want to do a temperature check and just say, hey, how are you? Let me know how you're feeling in the comments. I'd love to know. Have you seen everything that's been going on? Have you been watching everything? What have you been doing? So I'm first doing a temperature check. Hey, friend. Hey, Ashton. I'm literally just checking in and seeing how you're doing. I'd love to know how you're feeling in the comments about everything going on. And I'm going to jump right into today. My name is Lauren. I blog about money and lifestyle for the Saving Daylights. And in my everyday life, I provide families and small businesses tools to protect, empower, and build sustainable communities. And today I just feel compelled to share because this continues to be a problem. It continues to happen. And I'm slightly thuggish, y'all. Okay, so y'all have to pray for me. Sometimes I really want to kind of revert back and just trash everything. I'm just being completely honest with you today, but that seems to be unhelpful. And so I just wanted to share some actionable tips I think we all can do and what my family's doing. And I'd love for you to share with me what you're doing as well. Grateful. Amen. I'm doing well as well. Grateful. Grateful for Friday, grateful for family. And so, like I said, I just felt compelled to share a little bit about what I've been reading over the past few days, what I've seen. And I know we're all feeling compelled to do something as a community. And so, how are you feeling? And what are you doing? I'd love to know. Have you guys been seeing the things going on as far as the hashtag Stop Asian Hate, the mass murder, the killings? And so I just want to start there with their families. Like, you guys have been in my prayers. This morning, I spent some extended time, really praying, because past the fact that, these things happen, like, they are going to be impacted for the rest of their lives. This is something they will never forget. They've lost a family member, they've lost a relative, and I feel for them because, past the manner in which they were taken from this earth, that was someone's daughter, that was someone's wife, it could have been anyone that we love. And so I just want to send prayers to their family. And I am certainly praying with you and for you. And I hope you guys are praying with them and for them as well. Ashton, I so appreciate that. Taking a short getaway to a new environment and reflecting, like, that's so good. I think that's something I may need to do too. Because what happens is I can wake up some mornings and think of George Floyd and his family. These things happen, and I know, like, as a society, we like see it and it's like a hot topic for like a week, and then after that it's gone. But I just know how that feels, to lose someone that you really, really love. And so I appreciate that taking some time away is probably needed. Let me know how your weekend goes. And if that certainly helps, I'd love to know. And I'm praying with you. I'm here with you. Hey, you guys, how are you? Hey, mama and daddy. Look, I don't know why I call my friends parents. I hope y'all are doing well too. I'm just doing a temperature check, asking everyone how they're doing, how they're feeling, with everything going on. It's been crazy. And so I just wanted to share kind of some things our family's doing, but also just some sustainability. Hey, Bree, how are you, my love? Happy Friday. Hey. And like I said, I just spent some extended time this morning in prayer, and I just felt compelled to come on and talk about this. I don't necessarily like discussing these things, but who does? And that's what I thought about. Like, I'm sure their family is uncomfortable, experiencing this loss, experiencing it over, such a heinous, like, way to go, like, because of their skin color and because of who they were. And so I certainly wanted to share. I shared this story a few weeks ago, I think, on a live I did with my husband. And we were just talking about if we'd ever been victims of, a hate crime, or if we'd ever experienced racism. And I'm not sure that we had, but we remember driving for dollars, what investors or real estate investors call looking for homes. And it was crazy. We were pulled over, and two cop cars like pulled up behind us, like at an angle. It was like a scene out of a movie, guys. And it was insane seeing that. And I told him, like, this is how things get started. It's like this small, very small thing, that turns into a bigger thing. And so, I just told him, like, it is crazy how our lives can change in an instant, and how, like I said, their families will be forever impacted. And so I'm going to jump right in. This was inspired by Trevor Noah's IGTV video. He called it out, like, right on the nose. I believe our society is really into, looking at the symptoms of things instead of the cause, instead of the underlying. He mentioned how this has been building up over the past few months. And instead of, taking it more seriously then, now we want to do something about it. Now we want to call it out. Now we want to include, programs and work safe spaces is what we call it in my line of work. All these different things. And it's hard to see it. It's hard to see us be reactionary when we can be more proactive about these things. And so he called it out, and I was just like, it's just crazy, like how, and I'll give this as an example. It's kind of like being a part of a medical system, right? We know that preventive care is the best care for our bodies. And instead, sometimes we don't go to the doctor until we are like crazy sick. Like, we felt it coming, we felt a cough, and we had a fever. It's like, no, it's going to go away, we'll be fine. And then, we start breaking out, and we're feeling a little under the weather. We're like, oh my God, I physically feel this. This is crazy. And then you're at a place where you can no longer work and function day to day. And then we check ourselves into the doctor. That's what this feels like. Every single time we see a hate crime, every single time we see a Black man shot, every single time, it's cyclical. And it's almost feels like we've become so desensitized to it happening that it's become a norm, which is why I wanted to call it out. The first thing I really believe when it comes to like families and us instilling this in our children and in our extended families is just the awareness, like understanding that this is not going to go away. It is very cyclical. It is something that happens so often. It's just highlighted right now, but this is people's lives. That's what I think about. People live this every single day, and that's what's crazy to me. This mic is so weird, guys. I'm sorry. I'm trying to do this for long. Thanks, babe. But it's one of those things where it's like, this is so crazy. And so let me jump into the actionable tips. I just wanted to share that the inspiration was again by Trevor Noah. I encourage you to go and take a look at his IGTV because it was that impactful. I've watched a lot of things over the past few days, but it was just a short snippet of what was happening. And so I'm going to jump right in to, y'all know I'm a note taker because I talk too much and I ramble. So I have to take notes so I stay a little bit on point. But there were some things I definitely wanted to convey. And so in times of conflict, like these are things, again, like Locke and I are super intentional about teaching our kids. But, you know, even at work, he's a teacher, he's an educator. Bree, you're an educator. You know, and I work in workplaces when it comes to delivering like financial wellness programs. We talk about different things of this nature because I work in a legal background. And so sometimes these things have to be addressed because it's everyday life. Like, that is the goal of wellness, that we are well, that we have peace of mind, and that we can function day to day. And so the first thing I just share with Locke, and it's something I've been doing, is praying. I believe that's a huge part of the formula, and I know this is faith based, and everyone may not be submerged in that line of thinking, but as much as this is cyclical, and as much as, I don't know why I keep crying, y'all, as much as this is cyclical, like, our God can do anything, as much as we're used to seeing us ran down in the street, assaulted, like, to see the videos I saw of, Asians being targeted in this manner, it's really sad. And to know that there's so many subsets and cultures that are experiencing the same thing, it's crazy. And so prayer, because prayer works and God hears us. I believe that he sees what's going on. And when we feel like we have no control over a situation, which is case in point, I believe prayer really does work. And so I'm just trusting God in this situation for sure. Okay. Sorry about that. All right. And so number 2 is awareness, which we already talked about. We've been seeing the videos, there's articles. I believe there's plenty of awareness. As a matter of fact, I believe sometimes we're probably oversaturated in awareness. And that's kind of where it stops. Like, what happens next? And so, but I believe in awareness, because you don't have a starting point if you're not aware of a situation, if you're not aware of something that's happening. And so it's been crazy, like, seeing, the different articles, the different videos, the different organizations and things of that nature. Like, it's so important that we get that done too. So education comes with awareness, and that's the next step, past being aware of something. Like, it's so important that we deep dive into our just education, like having an idea of what someone else is going through. Like, becoming an empathetic person is so important to Locke and I. And that's why I call this family edition, because it's lessons to myself and my husband, but also to our kids. And so just being super intentional about that, right? Thank you, friend. Knowing what's going on in our world. It's been super crazy. And so the next thing I would say is implementation. And so this is where I believe, like, we can really pivot and have a turning point when it comes to different things. And that is, what is one thing I can do to help this community? What is one thing I can do to solve this? Like, there's a quote by, I think, Pastor Tony Evans, and he talks about that changing the world starts with changing your community, starts with changing your family, starts with changing yourself. So what is one actionable thing you can do? And I know a lot of us may feel like we can't do a lot where we are, but I have a friend who lives by this quote, like, bloom where you're planted. Wherever you are, you can do something. And again, maybe that's education. Maybe that's asking, this community, like, how are you feeling? Like, what can I do? Like, asking questions like that, because sometimes we have an idea of what should happen, but I truly believe, like, communication could certainly help us, take across and really get an idea of what it is that needs to be helped with. But being empathetic is one of those starting points. Like, how are you feeling? Another one I believe in is definitely understanding that past that implementation of knowing something, like doing that one actionable tip. So I love the awareness. I love when people pass this information. I can tell that we care. But past that, like, how do we stop these things? And so I was telling Cole and Kenan, like, what is one thing you're going to do, babies? Like, and I told y'all, this is a lesson to my husband and I, but this is also something we pass down to our kids, which is why it's called Family Edition. Beep. So, hey, Mel, how are you, love? And so understanding, like, we've got to do one thing. You've got to step into action. So past being aware and educating ourselves, what is one thing we can do? And so Locke and I just signed up. Well, Locke already left the house, but I signed him up too. For what I saw was, it's called Asian American Justice Center. They have a bystander training. And so we're just going to get involved and learn about it. Like, how can we help advocate for this community? How can we, submerge ourselves in making sure that there are less people in the situation that whatever we can do, wherever we are, we're able to contribute. And so I know sometimes it feels like it's so small, but I think it's so big. So again, being empathetic, how are you feeling? But also going into a space of, okay, I'm going to do one thing, at least one thing, and that's the implementation. Y'all know I got my notes. Y'all know I ain't playing. Your girl be scrambling, okay? So the next one is action. So I watched this really good, impactful video. I think I'm going to share it in my stories about how this is so cyclical and how it continues happening, right? And I thought, how crazy is this that we see this time and time again? And it feels hopeless. It feels like it shouldn't be happening, and it is. It continues to happen. And so what that looks like, how can we be more action oriented? What does that look like? Because I believe, hey Kanisha, how are you, cousin? Because I believe like that's one of the things where we're lacking. How can this be a continual effort? It's highlighted for this week, but next week, will we remember their families? Will we remember their names? In 6 months, will we remember their names? Like, will we remember that this could happen again? What are we doing now to make sure that we're doing our best when it comes to these efforts? And so we all about that action, like whatever you can do. And like I said, one step we're taking is completing that bystander training. I'll try to put the link here as well so that you are able to contribute in a meaningful way, right? And so the next one is commitment. Like, past today, past this week, past next month, how can we contribute in a meaningful way? Like, what does that look like? And it's different for different people. In a workplace, that can be having ongoing programs, not just for minorities, but for the entire community who too are learning about a such thing. Like, if I'm not Asian, I'm learning about Asians. You know what I mean? If I am not a man, then I'm learning about a man. And so it's so important that we provide a space for everyone to come learn, especially in the workplace, but also outside of that. Like, what resources are we giving our children? What resources are we giving to our friends and family? What conversations are we having so that we're all learning this together? Because it's an effort I believe we can do all together. And so next, I wanted to talk about community. This one's really big, and you guys know that was my word for last year. I genuinely believe if I know something and my neighbor doesn't, I'm not really serving my community. And if she knows something and she didn't tell me, like, we're not on the same page. And so sharing resources, sharing knowledge, sharing conversations that build all of us up. Because just because I'm in the know of something and I'm aware and I'm empathetic, I believe it's, and I'm going to say this lightly, it's our responsibility. Like, a lot of people feel like, okay, the government needs to do more and the police should do more. Absolutely, they should do more. We're past that. We understand that they should be doing 8 billion times more, but our commitment to our communities should be that we are taking a grassroots effort and we're understanding, okay, there's some stances I'm going to have to take for me and my home. There's some things that me and my community won't stand for. And so it's so important that we're taking that step and that we're being committed to our communities. We're making sure that we're all in this together, that we're sharing resources, because we can move more people when it's more than one person. Does that make sense? Not just me and Locke and Cole and Cannon, but also my next door neighbor, Venus, and also my next door neighbor, Jeremiah. Like, what does that look like when we all are collectively doing something? It's the power of a community is huge. And we've seen change happen because of grassroots efforts, because of rallies, because of different things. We've seen them happen, and we know it can happen again. And so I encourage you to get your community involved wherever you are. If you know your neighbor, maybe just knock on their door and say, hey, how are you feeling? Have you heard of everything that's going on? Is there anything I can do? Hey, here's a resource I'm reading. Like, maybe you and the kids and I can get together and we can read it together. Whatever that looks like, I believe in definitely sharing and, again, us taking responsibility. I know that's such a weird mindset shift at times, but I genuinely believe that we can do more where we are, right? All right, and so the last two things, I mentioned prayer, but I always end with prayer too. I had a friend who shared this with me, and I was like, that's so good. I pray at the beginning of my day, but I almost always forget to pray throughout the day and at the end of the day. And so, if you are a faith based person and you need that reinjection of power, of energy, I genuinely believe pray again, y'all. The Bible does say pray consistently, and your girl wasn't doing it. That's probably why I'm out here firing shots. Anyway, but I'm just so blessed to know, like, God can heal anything. He can do anything. I genuinely believe in the power of prayer. And so that last step I wanted to talk about was protection. So I talked about community and our commitments to our community, but also protection. And so I know this probably is an unpopular belief. And let me tell y'all what I wrote down this morning. I said it's our right and our responsibility to protect ourselves. So again, I know it's unpopular because there are so many people who play a part in this situation. They are absolutely at fault. I will give them all the fault. But I certainly want to put some things in our hands. We can't control everything, but there are some things that I am committed to learning and knowing so that I can help my family, so that I can help my community. And one of those things I've been doing lately is some community outreach. And it goes like this. It's like, hey, like, I really just want to show you something. I've been working on this for a while when it comes to my family and what it looks like for us to serve. For example, a few months ago, I read about a 6-year-old being arrested in Florida. I think the kid had kicked somebody or kicked a security guard, or I don't know what happened. And we can go back and forth, but let me tell you something. A 6-year-old being arrested? How traumatic. How that is not okay. Like, it's not okay at all. And I'm thinking, like, Lord, is this really our world? And so something Locke and I did was, we prepared our stuff. We work with our community attorneys. We're like, hey, this is what we want set up for Cole and Ken if they're ever in that situation. My son just turned 5. I could never fathom him being this young and being arrested, but I certainly want him to be protected if he's that case. He has attorneys on file. You have their number. When you read him his Miranda rights, you know who to call. After you call us or before you call the attorney, whatever you need to do, you have their numbers. I am not playing when it comes to Cole and Kenan. I'm not playing when it comes to protecting them, because I know that the world we're facing, the situations that have already happened in 2021 and in 2020 during a pandemic, how insane is that? And so setting that up with their schools so they have a procedure in place for how you want things dealt with in that situation as well, right? So they know, okay, here's who you should call. I want you to know. And I want to share that same thing with you. I want you to know that you have somebody to call. Like, there's no need, there's no excuse for there to ever be a situation that happens like that. Ever. Same with this. There's some 24/7 emergency access. And we really believe in, like, literally hitting the button to our emergency access attorneys and be like, hey, here's what's going on. Let me know what's up. I need to know. I'm thinking of those families right now who lost their loved ones, and they've got to be going through so many different things, and having to look up someone who can help them through this, someone who can help them navigate through what's happened to their relative. Not only do they have to plan for a burial and grieving and therapy, but they also now have to go through a legal situation of letting them go, of potentially prosecuting. How crazy is that? Like, how insane is that? And so I have really taken a stance when it comes to these things. I want us to talk about these things. Having this set up, letting your kids have this app so they're prepared if they ever get pulled over, if they ever have anything like that happen, they have access. And us as parents having these conversations with our children or even with our extended family and our communities, because they matter too. Making sure we all have this app, making sure we all have protection. Guys, I hope you got something out of today. I know, like I said, I was still a little rambly, but I certainly wanted to reel it in. I'm going to run through these tips one more time. So in times of conflict, in times like these, I encourage you to pray, seek awareness, get educated, implement one action step, and then get serious about action. Stay committed to it. Rest, don't quit. That's one of my favorite things right now. Like, I still, like I shared at the beginning of this live, I still think of George Floyd and his family. I still think of Trayvon Martin and his family. Like, it won't leave me. It won't leave me. That looks like me. That looks like my family. That looks like my husband, and it looks like my sons. Like, how crazy is that? Man. And so I also wrote down action, commitment, community, making sure you're doing community outreach, asking how you're feeling, sharing this same video with them, saying, hey, like, look, you should certainly tap into this. This is something my friend and her family are doing. I want you to do the same. Community, protection, and always end with prayer, guys. Always end with prayer. Shoot me a message if you want to download that app. I am not playing, like I said, having these things set up no matter where we are. My husband, like I said, just left, and he has access. If anything happens while he's gone, he has access. And so, guys, I am praying with you and for you. I hope you're staying well. And I am glad to see you guys on today. Bye, guys. Have a great day.